do that? Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It was
Well, it's awesome to see you guys. Thank you for doing this. I think
good
this
to
will be
see
fun.
you too, man.
Yeah. I've been
Uh,
following you guys on social media and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, these guys would be good to talk to. I want to catch up and just get a little bit of a idea of what's been going on in your musical life
yeah.
pre-pandemic and certainly
Uh,
now, and what you guys might be thinking about in the future too.
right. Yeah, we could talk about. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about.
Sure.
All of our stuff, and it would probably, appropriate or not, we'll probably just ask you what you've been up to. you know.
Totally. Rob, it looks like
Okay.
you're in your comfy studio there. That looks pretty slick.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's just a basement studio and
Uh-huh.
it works pretty well, actually. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And Mike, you've got the that backyard vibe going right now, which looks comfortable.
Actually, if you look carefully, it's the Lake of the Ozarks. See the lake? There's,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
there we go. Yeah, that's a lake. And I'm just down here for the 4th, and
Okay.
just hanging out by the water.
Do you do that like every summer or what? Or is that just like
Yeah,
you need to do?
I mean, I come down about every other weekend all summer. But yeah, every year we come down for the 4th for sure. Yeah, and
Cool.
it's all good. So I hope
Nice.
I hope this is okay to hang out like this. If I
No,
hang
it's
around in
great.
the house, it's kind of, there's a lot of dogs. We got a bunch of family and all their dogs, so I'm trying to avoid dogs barking through the whole thing.
Oh, sure. No, this is great. At some point or another, one or both of my cats will probably hop up here in my lap. So anything,
Right.
it's relaxed, it's casual. Whatever happens, happens.
I think people are getting used to that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, give me like Rob, let's start with you. Give me a little bit of an idea. Let's forget about pandemic and distancing and staying home under lockdown like we're all doing. Forget about all that for a second. Give me a little bit of an idea of how busy things have been with either yourself and or with you and Mike in terms of Back to the Future stuff and or things you guys have been doing individually.
Wow. Well, we
Where to start?
where to start? Yeah.
Ha.
Gosh, so we put on these festivals. It's one of our fun hobbies. We put on about 3 or 4, maybe 5 jazz festivals around the St. Louis area every year, including the U City Jazz Festival, believe it or not.
Wow.
Started 10 years ago in Heman Park, and it grew into this huge monstrosity. And we also do the Herman Jazz Festival, the Webster Jazz Festival, the Chesterfield Jazz Festival, which is at this great big amphitheater they have out there now, right by Chesterfield Mall, which is really fun. And we're starting the Clayton Jazz Festival this year, but I think we're going to hold off until next summer. It's
Yeah, I would bet.
September. And so it takes a lot of organizing, but it's a lot of fun because we always bring in a national act and get to hang out with them and meet the players and hang out. It's really cool.
Do you guys play and perform as part of it as well, or?
We always perform during it at some point during the day. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. And a lot of times we actually get up with for a grand finale with the national artist. We make friends with them during the day, and we discuss maybe like a big super jam at the end. We talk them into it, and we usually end up having one. So we've shared the stage with our heroes, basically. Almost
Sure.
most of the time, it ends up happening. It's very rare they say no, because we're the ones that write the
Right.
check. So
Yeah. And you guys been doing it for did you say 10 years now?
at least 10
Yeah,
years.
I would say this is the 10th year because we started the U City Jazz Festival as our first one, and that was in 2011 was our first one, right? And so we had Pieces of a Dream, we had the Yellow Jackets, we had the Wooten Brothers with Victor Wooten and Future Man and those guys from the Flecktones.
David Benoit, Paul Taylor,
John Patitucci, Eric Marienthal, Stanley Clark.
Simon Phillips, Dave Weckl Band.
Right.
All kinds of cool stuff. Maybe something
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking of, but yeah.
How do you guys how do you reach out to those artists and just initially contact them and find out if A, they're interested in doing it, or B, if they're available to do it?
Well, sometimes they contact us. Like Simon was just coming through on tour, and this was going to be convenient, so their agent reached out to us, and so that worked out perfectly. The Dave Weckl Band was something that me and Jay Oliver put together, the keyboard player.
Okay.
We're good friends and we hang out, and we were out to dinner one night, and we just kind of dreamed up this idea of putting together the old Dave Weckl Band and having them play. And so they rehearsed in my basement for 2 days, which was just incredible. And so I got to hang with Dave the whole time, and the other guys as well. And so that one took a lot of planning, and I was personally involved in a lot of the stuff, getting that together. Other ones, we just contact their agent and see if they're available. Some of them we actually just know as friends. So one thing we love to do is we bring in Eric Marinthal, who is the saxophone player in LA. He's known for playing with the Rippingtons, Chick Corea Electric Band, bunch of Yellow Jackets, a lot of stuff. And he plays with us in Bach to the Future. And that's always a thrill to get to play with him as well. So
that sounds like an awesome way to connect and just network and just hang out and have some fun, share musical ideas, do whatever, right? Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and then we'll have local bands all day long, and
Mm-hmm.
they're always great too. So we have all the St. Louis favorites and even some of the unfavorites, I guess,
Right.
as well. But they're always, everyone's always great, and it's always, we've never had an incident or a problem or anything go bad or
Yeah,
it's
been
always
great.
knock on wood, it's always been really just a positive experience for everybody.
That's great. I imagine, as you mentioned, putting together even one show, like putting together one show, curating a festival or show or whatever, it's a lot of work, right? A lot of just like communication and herding cats and schedule and organizing, all that
Right.
kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. We have
usually there's often 40 or more musicians involved in any given day, especially if there's any really large group like a big band or anything like that. So you're right. It takes a lot of phone calls, and some musicians need to be told 17 times, where to park and what time they're playing, and the musicians are funny. Hey, what time are we playing again? What was the date? I mean, they just call over and over.
Well, they're
Right.
jazz musicians.
So jazz musicians are
Sure.
So, but
Sure.
it's been good. It's always fun.
That sounds
So,
cool. I think I've seen some YouTube footage of, it might have been something from the Chesterfield Festival. I think I saw a little bit on YouTube with that. Looked great.
Yeah, it's a great venue for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
So Mike, in your spare time outside of festival organization and planning and all that kind of stuff, what kind of musical things take up your time as an individual player?
Well, I spend a lot of time with Rob, and even on my sort of solo piano stuff, Rob is often helping or being part of the engineering or coming up with, whatever the background idea is for the record or whatever. But a couple of years ago, I bought Clayton Studios, which is, you may be familiar with that. It's St. Louis's oldest studio. And so I've been renovating that studio, and we got, I think, one of the great pianos of the world. It's a 9-foot Steinway, came from Steinway Hall in New York, and we did a lot of work on it and made it really just perfect. It's the way I like it, the action and everything. And so I recorded some solo piano music on that, and we also we have a lot of musicians in town that record at Clayton, and so we wanted to make it more jazz and classical centric studio. Just because that's just so much fun to record, and so that's kind of what I've been doing. But mostly Rob and I do most of our music together. We have so many projects together, and so that's kind of how we spend most of our time, sort of bouncing stuff off of each other more than doing too much solo work.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys are you guys like good or experienced or skilled at engineering stuff on your own? You guys good with technology and all that kind of stuff, or you prefer, or you kind of have learned that as you go, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
go ahead, Rob.
We started off with the Tascam 4 tracks and everything way back in the 80s, and just kind of built up. And as the as the computerized systems came along, we just kind of grew with it. So we've been recording the whole time, and I'd say we're getting pretty darn good. We've got a lot of tools in the toolbox at this point. So
Yeah. And also on that, Rob and I are always learning more about recording, and recording technology and more about microphones and preamps and always upgrading plugins and all that. But we actually work a lot with a couple of friends of ours that we grew up with doing it, and each person has sort of their specialty. Like I'm more of a MIDI guy, more of a sequencing kind of a. That's sort of always been my thing. We have a friend named Tazoo Marshall, and he always was experimenting with tape since we were little kids, and now he's the chief engineer at Clayton Studios, and so he helps us. He engineers some of our stuff. Larry Kornfeld is another guy we learned a lot about digital recording back in 2000. He taught us a system called Vegas, and it's the first time we really got into working with straight through computers rather than we had all kinds of crazy little digital recording 8-track 16-track units and stuff up to that point. And so we're still working with Larry and Tazoo. So it's been a long time of just hanging out with friends. Our friend Casey Adams, who plays percussion with us sometimes, he's newer to recording, but he's been a musician with us for a long time, and now he's a full-time engineer. So we got this little crew that not only plays but loves to get nerdy with the equipment.
Yeah,
so that's been fun.
And I have to mention Jay Oliver came along and helped us raise our bar quite a bit, actually, when he came into town and started hanging out with us about 6 or 7 years ago.
That's true.
And he taught a lot of the finer points.
Always great to have somebody come in and help you do that, like help you kind of raise your game a little bit and inspire you to pick up new things or whatever. That's great.
No question. Yeah.
That's cool. So Clayton Studios, I don't know if I know exactly where it is, but I'm sure I've driven past it in the past and at some point or another.
Yeah.
And that sounds exciting.
It's actually in Richmond Heights on Big Bend. So for those of you that know St. Louis, it's been around since the late 70s actually, and till recently it was pretty, it started to show its age. Old equipment and the whole place has been set up a certain way, wired a certain way for so long, and rewired a million times. So we really just tore it apart about 3 years ago, and it's coming back together. And it's the most state-of-the-art facility in town, I like to think. But it's been a lot of fun working there. And Rob has continually done a series of home studios that keep getting. But every time he moves every couple of years and gets a new house. And he, especially with the help of Jay Oliver, who really has been very helpful in things like acoustic design and that kind of thing too. Rob's latest studio is just a blast. It's just perfect to record in. So we just started recording in there a couple weeks ago, and the new record sounds really good. And it's been really sort of easy and fun to make the record. So it just keeps getting better all the time,
Mm-hmm. Hey, Rob, tell me a little bit about, if you can share a little bit about this new record Mike spoke of. What can you tell us about this new record at this point, and in terms of songs or tracks, when it might be out, how it came together, that kind of stuff?
Well, we're working on 3 new records right now.
3 new records. You guys are ambitious.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So the real exciting one is we're working on Eric's new album, which is it's basically
that's Eric Marienthal, the sax player. Yeah.
Okay.
And so Mikey's writing all the songs for it, and a lot of them are these just huge ballads, I guess. So they're just I don't know, they're kind of like
contemporary jazz, just a big electric jazz sound. But I think of this big power ballads and things, which it's really a good showcase for Eric's huge saxophone sound. He sounds best on these, I think. And I think this one will be geared towards smooth jazz, contemporary jazz radio, which we've been doing a lot more lately for that genre. I've always loved that stuff, and we just generally haven't done a lot of contemporary jazz that's sort of in the more commercial zone, but it's actually been a lot of fun. So that's the one we're super excited about right now. We love the sound.
So John Patitucci's playing bass on it. Who else is on it? Larry's on it.
Larry Kornfeld is the bass player on at least one track so far. I am sort of thinking that there's a guitar player named Michael Thompson that we used on a recent record. Michael is actually played with Stanley Clarke and see who else did he play? Seal and Chicago and a bunch of different things. He's just an amazing guitar player, the most versatile guitar player maybe I ever heard. And so I was thinking he would really be a nice person to add after we get it all written, sort of just a final coloring guitar, not a really big part of the record, but just he adds a nice color,
Sure.
you know, and he just knows exactly where to put little things that really take it to another level. So
That's one. Another thing we're working on is classical rocks, which is classical music with super shredder guitar heroes, and it's going to be sort of a surprise of who they are, but they'll all be household names.
Okay.
And that's a really fun one. It's like neoclassical rock, and we're doing a kind of like a charity record for the Grammys Cares thing, raising money.
Okay.
And the Grammy organization has a thing called Music Cares, and it's been they actually have helped out a lot of musicians during the pandemic because they've been losing gigs and teaching jobs and everything else.
Yep.
So they actually ran through all of their money, and
wow.
And so this is a good time to help out if anyone wants to donate to Music Cares.
Sure.
It goes to the good cause of keeping musicians afloat. So. Yeah, but we figured we'll do this record, and all proceeds will go to that. And the guitar players, I'll just describe, because we haven't finalized the lineup, but we're sort of figuring out who will play what. But they will be the kind of like, some of them will be guitar players that are like from the big metal bands of the '80s. That's sort of the idea, you know. So, but I don't want to name names until we know for sure
Fair enough.
They're going to be on it. You know what I mean? But yeah, that should be out within the year.
But you know what? Last year we put out a couple really, really exciting albums. I did one called Drumology, which is a double drummer album. So I basically picked my favorite drummers and did like double drum songs, basically, where we had two drummers playing on the same song. And it always ended up with a big, drum battle in the middle of the song, kind of written into the music, and trades or whatnot. And that's been real fun. I got to have one with Weckl, and I did one with Simon, John Blackwell, who played with Prince. I think that was actually his. He passed away since, unfortunately, and I think
John Blackwell
passed away. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. He had a brain tumor, it turned out. It
Goodness.
Real kind of a sudden thing.
Wow.
And I think it's maybe the last recorded performance he ever did was actually with my record. Yeah.
That could be, yeah.
And me and Steve Smith did one that Jay Oliver wrote for us. It's a kind of like an Indian conical kind of thing, and Steve sang on it.
I've been watching Steve give these instructional short 2-3 minute videos on Indian rhythms and playing and conical stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
That dude blows. I love that guy. I could watch him all day.
He's amazing. Yeah.
Fun stuff. Yeah. And I did one with Greg Bissonette. I have to mention that because that might have been my favorite one, because he did his whole session on Skype, which is probably pretty common these days or whatever, but it was just a joy to watch him play. Played through it 3 times and one, more progressive than the next, and every single one of them was like a keep or take. It was hard for us to pick through and leave a lot on the cutting room floor because everything he played was brilliant on it. That was
I think he's the most underrated drummer I have ever seen. He just was so amazing. And you think, he's not one of the top names in drums, but definitely is in the studio world. But you just don't hear about him as much as some of these guys. But unbelievable. Greg Bissonette, we were floored. I've never seen a session quite like it, because there was nothing he couldn't do.
That's awesome. Yeah, you might be right about that. Maybe he is underrated. You don't hear his name a lot maybe I say these days, whatever that means, but maybe like 80s or early 90s, his name was more prominent. I don't know. But that's
true. I first saw him with the David Lee Roth band with Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan. That was like this incredible rock supergroup
Sure.
And yeah, but how much did we really get to see of him then? It was kind of overshadowed with Steve Vai,
True.
and all that. He became the big name out of that group, but but it was an incredible joy to work with him. I know we're actually, haven't asked him yet, but I think we're going to ask him to be on Classical Rocks, which, by the way, the concept of that is something we do a lot of, which is sort of classical music in different styles. These are going to be heavy metal versions of classical tunes, so Fur Elise and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Canon in D, but with shredder guitar.
Let me just add, hey, I know we're not revealing names, but
Yeah.
maybe just like nod once or blink once or something. Is Yngwie getting a phone call?
I will say this. I put the word out to him. I have not heard back. So we will see.
Okay.
We're waiting for a response. Yeah.
That's an obvious, natural, right down the middle choice.
Right. You kind of got to go. You got to at least reach out to Yngwie. He'd be right. That's his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I'm trying. So if anyone out there knows Yngwie, just tell him we'd love to have him on. We'll put him on track 1.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
So the third album I wanted to talk about was Mikey's album with Jeff Lorber that he did. They co-wrote an album. Jeff kind of took Mike under his wing, and they co-wrote an album that seems to they hit it out of the ballpark really, because it's just kind of blowing up right now, which is really cool. You want to talk about that?
So what happened was Rob actually went to the Baked Potato in LA. I don't know, what would you say, 4 or 5 years ago or something?
Yeah.
To meet Jeff, and I think we already knew Jimmy Haslip, the bass player, by then. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we'd met
He's
him.
a Yellow Jackets guy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Left-handed player?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So Rob went there, and then after he waited till the middle of the night to meet Jeff, and then they became friends. And then Rob asked him if he'd play a solo on one of our pieces, just for a different record, for an album called The Rebirth of Fusion, which we had a whole bunch of our heroes. It was like the first record we had a bunch of our heroes on. And so Jeff played, if anyone who knows Jeff knows that he can't just play on something. He just sort of took the song over, redid tons and tons of parts, had us sort of playing on his song by the end,
Okay.
But it was a huge learning experience. And then, so we became friends, and then he, and every time he comes to St. Louis, we hang out and until his show, and then he said, I'd love to. That's sort of how we got into the really doing real commercial jazz stuff, because he's really good at that. Like I think he's got to be the top producer in the smooth jazz realm right now. Everything on the Sirius XM Watercolors, I'd say about 30% of what's on there is either his band or someone he produced. He's just such a huge influence on that whole genre these days.
Sure.
So he said, I could help you make a record. I know that your thing is more like fusion or new age and all these sort of related things, classical. He says, but I could help you get right down the middle with the contemporary smooth jazz sound, and we could co-write some stuff. So he taught me a lot about the little nuanced differences between what I was doing and what he does. And really, it's not that different, but there's little things about it, and there's ways of approaching the music that, that really opened my eyes, and it was just so much. I'm still kind of hooked, and that's why I'm doing this new record with Eric Marienthal. Rob and I are doing it, and
so Jeff said, "Hey, forget Rob. You got to get a real drummer." So he got Vinny Colaiuta and Gary Novak to play on all the songs.
What?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. So Rob is on the record too, but yeah, Gary Novak, Vinny Colaiuta are also on there too. So it's just that Jeff already has a studio, and those guys come to his studio for all kinds of stuff. So
Sure.
He gets them. And then Michael Thompson on guitar. Adam Hawley is another guitar player that played on it. Adam Hawley's got the number 3 smooth jazz track this week.
Really?
Yeah. Jimmy Haslip on bass. David Benoit played. So yeah, that's a good record. That's a really very, very happy with that record. And that's the first one that's actually, hitting the contemporary jazz charts. And it seems to be like a new direction for us. So,
wow.
Yeah. And that's called Human Spirit, by the way.
Human Spirit. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you guys release your stuff? Number one, like how do you get it out there to the world, and how do you guys promote it as well? Like, do you just do as much as you can in-house by yourselves, or how's all that work?
Well,
that's okay. There's two answers to that.
yeah,
Oh,
Lately,
okay.
both
both.
are.
Yeah. So up until recently, we had done everything ourselves. And in fact, our real start on having any success in the streaming world had a lot more to do with just sort of recognizing what kinds of music that people were buying. I'm going back 10 or 12 years now. We were doing Christmas songs, and we were doing music for yoga and meditation and jazz for, chill out jazz and those kinds of, what we call kind of lifestyle music, just seeing that kind of stuff. People love that stuff. So that was just sort of the foundation of how we broke into just recording all the time.
Wedding music, funeral music, divorce party
Right.
music.
Oh, I
Divorce
see.
party music is huge. Right.
Okay.
But now we're going more traditional. So we have a publicist, we have a radio promoter. Just recently we had someone do some writing for us. I mean, it's sort of like we just think, well, why don't we just sort of try and live out that original dream of just really making this a record label that people are more aware of, that's not a lifestyle record label, but more of a label that puts out music, that charts on the, that kind of thing. And
Sure.
so it's just a fun new direction for us. And so we put out a couple records that way. It seems to be going really well. And these guys that we're working with are real pros. And we're just getting into learning how to do these sort of, like, there are people who promote directly to streaming platforms.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff is sort of iffy. So you have to work with people who do it, legitimately, because there's a lot of sort of pay for play weird stuff out there. You got to be sure that you don't engage with those people, because they'll, like, they get bots to stream your music and all that kind of stuff. So we don't mess with any of that stuff.
Fake playlists. They're fake playlists and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And just to drive stuff up the charts, and it's like
you can
that's the biggest no-no in music.
Get tossed off of Spotify. Work
oh, okay, I understand. I got you now.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
So I have to mention the name of the label in case anybody might be wondering.
Yeah, please do.
It's called Autumn Hill Records.
Autumn Hill Records.
Autumn Hill Records, yeah. And we've got a few hundred different titles out, so we've got a really big catalog. So we've got a website.
Is there a website, autumnhillrecords.com or something like that?
That is exactly the.
I
don't know how you guess that. I mean,
I just was thinking. Let me think.
You must be some kind of a super sleuth.
Lucky, yeah. I mean, it's all up here. It just came to me.
Right.
But that's cool. I'll definitely check it out. That sounds really interesting. I'm curious because I've always known, having followed you guys on social media, I'm always aware of the fact that you seem very busy. You've got a lot going on, and I mean in the most positive of ways. Active, busy, prolific, involved in the community. Built up a large network of players that you like to collaborate with. And so I was always wondering, like, how do you get your stuff out there, and how does it see the light of day, I guess, is what I was most curious about.
Yeah. So now I'm recording an album with Pete Williams. I don't know if you remember Pete.
I do remember that guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing, me, Larry, and Pete and Mikey are doing it. And the guest artists are Randy Brecker and, of course, Eric Marienthal on sax. Sure. And we're going to do the same kind of thing when this album is done. Actually, it is done. We're just mastering it right now. We're going to promote it and do the whole thing. So we're really excited about that one, just because we actually have a plan for this one this time around,
right?
Which is really cool.
Yeah, we're getting good at, like, actually planning out the release of a record, and that's what's different, is that we never did that before. We just released it into our catalog and just hoped for the best. And sometimes things just kind of caught fire, and we organically, and sometimes they didn't. But we just keep making music all the time. And that's sort of the key. I recommend to anybody is, I think too many artists put out a record that's got 8, 10, 12 tracks, and maybe it just doesn't do much because it's their first record and they didn't really know what to do with it, and they put it out and nobody bought it, and they get jaded. they get jaded and they get bitter and they go, you know what, I'm not
Yeah.
doing it anymore. I don't like that feeling of failure. But really, all of these things, the jazz festivals, or putting out records, trying to work with people that you really want to work with. We sell sheet music. We have so many little ventures. That I think that the key is just do things that have low risk and potential high reward. I mean, none of these things would kill us. If a project doesn't go well, it doesn't, there's no big downside to it.
It's
Just,
not the end of the
you
world.
live and you learn, Right.
Yeah.
And you
So,
always come out the other side better in a way from what you learned.
Yeah.
Right, what you did wrong,
And Mike, to your point, just keep doing it. Keep writing, keep recording, stay prolific. Don't lose that kind of momentum, or either be discouraged or complacent. Whatever it is, keep it going, right?
Yeah, and by the time something does get released, we're already on to several other projects. So we're not sitting around waiting to see how it went. If it goes well, we go, oh, well, how about that? But if it doesn't, we hardly notice because we're already excited about the next thing,
Sure.
So if I think that's it, just don't. And I see this also when people set up big concerts, and they say, well, I'm going to have this one big concert and it'll be such a hit that I'm really going to put my name out there with this one concert. It doesn't really ever work. You really just have to continue. If you want to start getting known for playing live, play live all the time, just do whatever it is all the time,
Not putting all your eggs in one basket kind of concept.
That's it. Yeah. That's pretty much it. It's pretty basic, but yeah.
So I'm going to start actually, not tomorrow, but Sunday, I'm starting drum recording for a brand new album. So I'm thinking about getting myself into that recording mode, which has been a little while. The last recording I did was, so I'm playing in a rock band now that I've been with for 3 years or something like that. And we put out a record in 2018, I think. And we're busy playing shows and writing new material and all that kind of stuff, but, and doing some demos and things like that. But we have not really been in the proper actual mindset of recording a record for eventual release, hopefully 2021 kind of release for a while, but officially starts on Sunday. So I've got to get myself into that mode, which I'm excited to do. So, my projects aren't quite as, I don't have quite as many, I'm not juggling as many things or spinning as many musical plates as you guys are at one time. Right. I'm sort of in a monogamous band relationship, but, but nonetheless, I'm always excited to write material and record and just keep doing it. Writing and creating things that's what's fun.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So, well, that sounds cool. It sounds like you guys always have connections with a lot of other players and people that you can go to or reach out to and get them involved if they've got the time to do it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right now is a good time to record with people because everyone's hoping for work. So
everybody's home.
Yeah. Everyone's available. They have no excuse. Oh, I'm out on tour. I can't do it.
Nope.
That's actually why Classical Rocks came up. We actually did a record like this in about 2010, about 10 years ago. We did this Classical Rocks record, and we did it very quickly. And it has a little bit of a, it actually gets some streams. I think people who are looking for whatever Mozart's Eine kleine Nacht music or whatever, they just stumble upon it. So it actually gets a fair number of streams and so on. But it's never the record that we really wanted it to be. And so we're sort of redoing it. And we just thought, this started at the beginning of the pandemic. And we thought, man, there's a lot of musicians out of work. What if we called up some of these guys to see if they just want some recording work, while things are slow. And then it turned into this whole thing. And then we thought, well, it should be a charity record, of course, because that's the whole point, is to help musicians with it. So that's where that whole idea, that's why you'd think, well, why are they doing jazz and now they're doing like heavy metal? Well, because it's really not, it's not that different, really. We like all of it.
Sure.
And it's as long as the musicians sound good and are having fun, it's fun to play with things and turn them into different styles of music. It's one of our things. We always, that's what the band Back to the Future is all about, twisting the music and, seeing where it goes. So it's not that different than what we usually do, but
sure. Sounds like fun to me. Sounds like fun. Why limit yourself?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, anybody
Rob,
can.
I have a memory that sticks in my head of going way back, like when, like teenage years. There was one particular, speaking of embracing different styles of music. I remember one time I was hanging out with you, I think it was probably at your place, and you were showing me some stuff on the drum set that it was really advanced. And I think I remember at one time you described it, maybe you were playing along with some music too, it might have been, but I think I remember you saying, oh, this is Greek music, and all the time signatures are all over the place, and it's really complex and stuff. And my head was like exploding because I'm like, Greek music? I don't even know. I was busy listening to like hair metal, you know, like Greek music.
Right.
What is that?
Yeah,
But you were already embracing that kind of stuff at that age.
yeah. So I played in a band called Ted Janis and the Golden Greeks.
Okay.
I got that gig when I was 15, and helped me pay car insurance and stuff. And it was about 8 years, and
Nice.
I loved it. We played in the Greek restaurants. Yeah, they were 5-hour things. 55-minute sets, 5-minute break. 55 minutes on 5-minute break.
Wow.
I mean, it was just slave labor basically for us. As far as
Yeah.
musician. I mean, it was really really cool. But so there's a lot of 7/8 and 9/8 and 9/4 times. As long
Mhm.
a lot of what we call oompa boom dat do dat do, like polka kind of stuff like that too.
Sure.
And then so it was a combination stuff. But we always had a big belly dance show in these places. One of the belly dancers or a couple of them would come in, and
Yeah.
we'd do a big belly dance thing, and then belly dancers would go on, and we'd finish off the night. But I always got to do a big drum solo during that,
Okay.
which kept me interested.
Absolutely.
Plus, I learned to love Greek food because that's what we got to eat for free.
Right.
Hey, how can you not? How can that sounds
Yeah.
like an awesome perk.
Yeah. So that was cool. I got to be in like a fun, safe environment all through my early years, and playing out on weekends to midnight fast, and hanging out with musicians who were much older than me and scenes that were older than me, and learned a lot about life in that band. Let's put it that way.
Hey, I remember playing some of my first gigs, bar gigs, like down in the U City Loop and stuff. And I think I was probably 16, probably 17 at the most. And again, playing with folks that were older than I was. And it's definitely eye-opening, when you're like a teenager and you're in that kind of setting and you're playing music and even getting paid, even if it's just like a little bit, you're like, wow, I made some money playing music. Wild.
Right.
It's definitely eye-opening.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was getting $35, a night, but I was 15 years old and just thrilled to get to play. So it was very cool when I was 15.
Hey, so how different, for both you guys, how different is life under our pandemic lockdown circumstances? We're all staying home or, staying amongst our families and all that kind of stuff. How different is existence for you guys with this versus pre-pandemic? I mean, are you guys kind of in the studio rat kind of mode all the time anyway? You're just writing and down?
I would say we definitely are, even more so. I would say we're more in the studio. We've always been more in the studio than playing live. We have 5-6 festivals a year and maybe a smattering of other things. We used to do a benefit every year at Christmas. So maybe do 10 or 12 gigs all year is typically our schedule. We're not constant players.
Yeah.
Maybe less than 10 in a year. And then the rest of the time we're in the studio a lot. Now it's like everything's canceled. It was a little bit of a shock at first,
Yeah.
At first I didn't even go to hang out with Rob, but people have opened up their bubbles and they hang out in smaller groups now. And so I go to Rob's a lot now when we're recording. So I was recording in my basement for quite a while, just, getting some of the stuff, just sort of basic tracks started just to start some new projects. A bunch of other records that are now getting started too, just because I was just writing every kind of thing I could think of for maybe the first month or so. And then, but now I'm over at Rob's fairly regularly in his studio. And just we're working all the time like that. But yeah, I can't wait till this is over because I'm starting to really get that itch to get the band back out and do all that. So
sure. I was supposed to do a tour with my rock band this year. That got canceled, like many other bands and all that kind of stuff. Then we're like, oh, maybe we can do it in the fall. That was like,
Right.
we were having that discussion back in March. Maybe we can do it in
Right.
the fall. Nope.
Right.
Maybe next year. We'll see.
Yeah, I know it's hard to think. I mean, since we have no idea how long this will last, but you
Yeah.
just got to take it day by day, and in a way, it's been good though because it's helped us focus on writing and even marketing. Sometimes we're just so scatterbrained with getting ready for performances and festivals that it's hard to focus on too much at once, and things take a long time because you're just jumping from thing to thing. So the
Yeah.
advantage is that we're sort of really just focused on things you can do at home, and that it actually has. That's when we started really doing more of this traditional marketing, and that's been an eye opener. We're learning about how all that really works. And I think there's a book coming. I think Rob and I will eventually write a book about what we've learned, because I think it's very interesting, and there is sort of there's a through line from where you start an idea to all the way to seeing it, go on the charts and write articles and trying to get things on the radio. I mean, a lot of that's new for us. So, but we've learned so much lately that I feel like there's a lot to sort of pass along.
I'm sure people would eat that up. I'm sure very valuable information. I know I'd be interested to read that, and I'm sure a lot of other people would too. That's cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, do either of you guys do any in your spare time? Ha ha ha. Either you guys ever do any teaching on the side?
Not anymore. Not anymore. I taught over at Fred Pierce Drum Shop for about 15 years.
Wow. Okay.
My gig down there, yeah. It was just a few teachers down there. Me, Kevin, Daryl, a couple other guys sometimes, and that was great, and I miss it. And I started going actually house to house as well. And but once this record company thing took off about 6 years ago, I slowed down the teaching, and then eventually just kind of stopped, just because I didn't want to, I guess, be committed to students that maybe I couldn't fulfill all the time anymore because I maybe out of town or this or that, or So I just the fair thing would be to let them find other teachers that might just be more available than really I wanted to be at the time. But I really do miss it. I miss it a lot.
Teaching is fun. I mean, you learn something about yourself when you teach other people too, which is kind of interesting.
If I ever had to, I would happily go back to doing it, and I probably will in my older years, just for fun.
Do you guys?
The same thing? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I feel the same way. It's like I gave lessons for 20 years, and I did the math. I think I gave over 30,000 piano lessons.
Wow.
And and then as Rob and I started to record a lot more, we just found that it was just kind of a nice transition. Like, I loved teaching all the way until right up about then, and then I was just getting a little bit burned out. But I love teaching kids now. Like, I have 2 kids now, and I teach them music all the time. I got a cellist and a trumpet player, and my daughter who plays cello has been learning piano, and it's coming really easily to her. But all the kids in the neighborhood, whenever they come by, I give them 5-minute lessons constantly. And they're actually there's a bunch of them, they're actually making real progress. So I feel like I'm still doing some good in that world. But I can imagine teaching more as I get older,
Sure.
I don't know when this time would be, but if for some reason we stop doing what we're doing now, I would certainly teach, because that's, it always feels good to teach kids to play.
It's fun.
Yeah. Hey, this is a random question, but any of the folks that you've collaborated with, some of those folks that have shown up on your records over the years, any of them ever say to you, hey, you guys, why don't you, think about moving on out here to LA, or think about coming to Nashville? This, the pool of players is wild. It's great. You guys would be embraced here immediately. Or, come on out here. I'll introduce you to my network of players. Or do you find that locale or location or region really doesn't matter one way or the other for you guys these days?
I would say that a lot of people say there was a time when moving to LA would have made a lot more sense. But because of the internet, there's so much you can do from anywhere. And a lot of our LA friends say, it's kind of nice that you're not in that LA bubble. You guys don't have to think in the terms that we're used to. You can think a little differently. You can do things your own way. And I mean, and one thing is that, you know, like I used to imagine that LA was full of all these grand festivals, and it was like this, and there was a time when there was, but people tell me now, you know, it's not like it used to be, you know, like there's just not as much happening in LA. It's a lot, much more decentralized. Like, you know, we're in St. Louis. Our violinist is in Nashville, and his name is Tracy Silverman, by the way. No relation.
Oh,
Weirdly.
interesting. Okay.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
That's weird.
And, but he, you know, he's 4 hours away. He drives up and does gigs with us, or he flies to wherever we are and does gigs with us. And, you know, he says, you're fine in St. Louis. You know, you could just fly out if you needed to, but there's no real need to do it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Because you can share music from anywhere.
Sure.
That said, I did meet Jeff Lorber by going to his gig in LA, waiting to the very end of the night before he was about to leave and going up and introducing myself. And there may have been no other way for that to happen. So there's something to be said for at least going out, visiting places and networking in person,
Sure.
showing up at people's gigs, introducing yourselves.
True.
Is a very valuable thing. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Maybe it would happen more if I lived out there.
Sounds like you guys are doing just fine and are plenty busy as it is.
Yeah.
But I get, yeah, Rob's right. I mean, certainly you would, there's something to be said for being closer to people who do, you know, do it more often, or in a more high profile city. I would say both are true. I would say wherever you live, you should definitely try to travel to New York and LA and Nashville and different places. I mean, we did have some of the things that did move us along happened in New York, LA, and Nashville because we went there, or to an arts conference somewhere else. We went to one in Minneapolis recently, Arts Midwest, and played with Bach to the Future for a whole bunch of presenters because we decided we'll get back out and do some shows around the country. And it went really well. And I mean, but we were there for 2 days, put on a show, and came home. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to live anywhere, but you definitely do need to once in a while travel somewhere outside of, say, St. Louis or whatever town you're in, if you would expect to be a part of the bigger scene. I think you do have to get out and get your band and get your music there in person once in a while. Meet some people.
Expand your footprint a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But with the internet, though, you know, the whole world is just a click away as well, too. When you get back home, you can follow up, you know, with the people that you met and take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, different subject altogether. Rob, talk to me for a few minutes about Spinelli drums. How did your relationship with Spinelli drums come about, and what's special about them?
Well, okay, so I actually met John Spinelli down in Florida. He was actually the manager of a music store, and I sort of met him and just to kind of find out, hey, what's going on around here in the Clearwater, St. Pete area. And he said, well, there's a jam session here, there's a jam session there. So I kept going out to his gigs, and we actually became good friends. One time I went out and he was playing these weird drums. I was like, what is this? And he said, oh, I made these myself. And they are free-floating drums. Matter of fact, I can show them to you right now.
Yeah, let's see what you got. Dude, your studio looks great. I want to come there and like hang out and record your place.
Cool. Let's see, turn on some lights here. All right, here we go.
I feel like we're coming into the Rob's inner sanctum.
That's right.
Here's the Spinelli drums. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know how much.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you can see, there's nothing drilled into the shells. They're just these lugs that they're like African drums or Indian drums, you know. No, sorry, Native American.
Hey, Rob, bring them in even closer. Bring them in closer.
I don't know if you can
there
see.
You go.
Okay, I gotcha.
See that, but they're free floating. Even the bass drum.
Yeah.
And they're just super resonant drums. I mean, they ring forever. He's got the glide and slide system. You can look; they just pick right off. Look at this. Look at that. There's no screws or anything.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, he's invented all this new, really revolutionary hardware as well. The bass drum things. You just press a button basically, and they screw in. I mean, they fold up. Just push button. The
Okay.
floor tom legs literally are held on by magnets. It's like something Apple would have come up with. You
Oh,
just,
wow.
literally just pick the thing up and just pull the floor tom leg off. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they got little memory locks on them. A lot of stuff about these drums, but there's nothing particularly special about the shells. They're just regular maple shells, real generic actually. And it turns out it's really just a free floating system that makes them so resonant.
So here's sort of this was all new to me, but when we went to the Spinelli shop and checked them out, this is what was amazing. So normally, Colin, you know what it's like to try to tune a drum.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
I mean, it's just the worst thing in the world.
Right.
So John Spinelli gave me a drum key, put it in my hand and said, check out this floor tom. At first I hit the floor tom. Sounded great. He said, now just start turning lugs randomly. Make them looser, make them tighter, make top lugs looser and tighter, because there are only top lugs. Because the top head and the bottom head are the same tension all the time, because it's the same lug running all the way from top to bottom. So when you tighten up the top, the bottom is exactly as tight, right?
The bottom, this doesn't fit on the bottom here. It's just like kind of a roundy kind of a thing on the bottom of this bolt here. So you just tune the top, and it tunes it. So if you get them even all the way around, the bottom head is also going to be even all the way around at the exact same tension.
So
anyway,
yeah, I mean, it may not be easy to tell on Zoom.
Yeah, probably not.
But it is. But the drums never sound bad. They never sound choked, because the resonance is always matched. And I was sold. It works with the snare. It works with every drum. And the drums just they sound like they're in a perfect room all the time. I don't know how else to describe it, but snare, you think about the snare issue for a drummer is always, it's too choked, too tight, or it's got that loose thing for jazz, say, you know, where you're trying to get kind of a lot of ring, but it's too loose for anything. It really, except for just playing sort of jazz. So somehow, because of the same it always nails right in the middle where you want it. It sounds like it's in this great acoustic space. I just love it. It's hard to beat.
Wow. And Mike, what kind of gear? What sort of gear do you have an affinity for these days, aside from the Steinway that is being restored and refinished for Clayton Studios?
I heard Rob's granddaughter there for a second, I think.
Here's Mikey's rig.
So I have been for some time now into the Roland stuff, Roland keyboards, and Rob's been using some Roland electric drums too. Rob likes acoustic and electric drums, but Yamaha's got some new stuff now, and I think maybe their piano is the best sounding electric piano. The new Yamaha is called the Mo DX. So for people who know about the Motif series of keyboards and the old DX7s from way back, they sort of combined all the FM technology and all this great new sampling and what they call supernatural technology. And it just, they've got the sounds are amazing. And the Roland RD series for a long time has sounded really, really good too. So I'm not overly picky because so much of the stuff has gotten so good. I still use some Korg stuff. I used to be into their stuff for a long time. Also very good. So there's tons of good stuff out there.
Well, Mikey's into the guitar too. Can't forget the guitar, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Roland makes the world's greatest guitar. It has, you can combine up to four different sounds, and very, very expressive for, you know, people think guitars are kind of silly. I think they're kind of silly, but there's things I can do on it that I can't do on any other keyboard. Something about the neck of it has a ribbon on it, and I can pitch bend and things. And I've always been a nut for that. Rob and I are pretty stuck in the 80s in terms of a lot of the way we like things to sound.
You like what you like.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me happy when I hear that sound. And I sort of, you know, I'm always trying to beat Chick Corea and George Duke and Herbie Hancock the way they play it, you know. And they all play the guitar. So
sure.
Yeah.
Looks like fun stuff to me.
Yeah, it is fun. Oh, there's my keyboards.
Yeah, there's your keyboard.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even see what we
They're
were
waiting
looking
for you to come back and whisper to them.
at. Right.
But this is
So-
basically where we record, these
Okay.
days.
Man, it looks like an awesome space, Rob. I'm pretty psyched. That looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun.
So are you in St. Louis much, Colin?
So my sister still lives in the area. I get out there to see her. Pandemic and shutdown aside, I would typically get out there to see her at least once a year, sometimes twice a year if I can.
Okay.
In a while, because of the shutdown, I'm probably due to go out there and see her. My parents moved away, so they don't live in the area anymore. But
Okay.
but I do still get out there when I can. But when I can do that next remains to be seen.
Right. Okay.
So-
Well, when you do, definitely come by. We'll hang
Yeah.
out.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'd love
no
to.
problem.
Absolutely. Would,
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to. I'll definitely let you know. I got to check out your space. It looks awesome.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, hey, so guys, we should probably wind it down. We're kind of getting close to an hour-ish, but
Okay.
let's do a little recap. So, autumnhillrecords.com,
Right.
Right.
right? Clayton Studios in Richmond
.com.
Heights.
Right.
Oh, okay, claytonstudios.com. Bach
Right.
to the Future. Where can we find info about Bach to the
Ah.
Future?
A little twist there. Backtothefuture.net.
.net.
Yeah. Which,
Okay.
you don't want to be too predictable.
Good point.
Yes.
Okay, so Bach to the Future, Autumn Hill Records, Clayton Studios. What else can we plug? Three new records coming out this year-ish or within the next year?
Yeah, let's say Human Spirit, my new Michael Silverman featuring Jeff Lorber record, coming out
Okay.
July 15th. Already on pre-order on all the services.
Okay.
And you can preview songs there too, on Apple Music at least. I know you can do it there. And
Drumology.
Rob's album, Drumology.
Drumology. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. And SpinelliDrums.com.
SpinelliDrums.com.
That's
I'm
Yeah.
going to go check that out. Now I'm really curious. I want to dive into a little bit more for myself and see
They're
what that
amazing.
might sound like for me.
They're amazing. You'll love them. You'll love them. They're very good.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for the time today to hang out and connect. I know it's been forever. I've really enjoyed a little insight into your musical existence these days. B, obviously stay safe and healthy like we're all trying to do.
You too.
C, I will continue to look for things on social media that you guys share. I always enjoy seeing that. And lastly, I will certainly take you up on your offer. Next time I'm going to be in town, whenever that may be, I'll let you know in advance and we can hang out or do something.
Awesome.
That'd be great. It's good. So good to see you, Colin.
Good to see you guys. And, keep in touch, all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks so much.
All right. See you guys. Take care.
See ya. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye.